first things first, can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're fit for this role?
Yeah, so I am not a career politician. I never really saw myself necessarily running for office. I'm an educator by, I like to think of it as my vocation. It's my whole adult life. I've been a classroom teacher. My certification is in K through 12, or I'm sorry, 7th through 12th, English language arts and reading. I've been a classroom teacher for middle school and high school, and I've taught in public schools and in private Catholic schools. And I've also worked in higher education as the assistant director of study abroad at Lamar University. So everything I've done in my adult life has been focused on education, just because I think it's so important. And it's a big value in my family. It's something I've really pushed for my kids, because we believe that knowledge is power, and education is the door to everything. So I believe that it is important for the people that make decisions about education to have that boots on the ground classroom experience. So what we're seeing in the education system now is a lot of people that are in these leadership roles, whether it's like our current TEA commissioner, the people on various different boards, and the State Board of Education. They don't have classroom experience. They don't have a background in education. So I have a master's degree in education in addition to my master's degree in English. And then they're making decisions about how teachers should teach, what teachers should teach. And you can, whenever you don't have that experience, it's kind of all theoretical. But when you have been, as we say in the field, we call it like in the trenches. When you have been in the trenches, in the classroom, you make decisions based on lived experience.
And so I guess you kind of answered this already, but again, why are you running?
So I wasn't, for a long time, I wasn't really paying attention to the State Board of Education. As teachers, we have so much on our plate with our students and everything that we're focused on the task at hand, right? But then I started following some news stories that were coming out about some controversies going on in the State Board of Education. I think that the news story that really got my attention was the social studies rewrite of the social studies TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills for Social Studies. Very controversial because the rewrite involved erasing a lot of history, what we call whitewashing of history, just this American exceptionalism driven curriculum that is, a lot of it is untruthful or lies by omission. So then I started saying, okay, well, look at the makeup of the board. So there's 15 members on the State Board of Education. These 15 write the curriculum for the whole 5.5 million Texas students. And then a lot of them are very ideologically aligned. So their campaigns were paid for by right-wing extremist groups, things like that, including the incumbent, the person sitting on the board right now. So, found out that she is very aligned with right-wing politics, that she was in attendance at January 6th, and that's actually the reason why she got voted off the Alvin ISD school board, is because of her attendance at January 6th. And so then I realized that seat was coming open. And I felt it almost like a duty as an educator and as somebody with classroom experience to flip that seat, to take it back from who I view to be extremists. Their agenda isn't necessarily for education for all students, but to infuse our education system with politically aligned doctrine. And also a religiously aligned doctrine, where there's lots of controversy going on right now with how much role religion should play in a public school curriculum. And not just Christianity, but one version of Christianity, right? So one of the controversies going on right now that they're going to vote on in June is the inclusion of Bible passages as mandatory reading for all grades K through 12 in reading classes. The passages all come from Protestant translations of the Bible. So we're a state where there's a lot of Catholics, right? Because we have a lot of Hispanics, and Hispanics typically are Catholic, right? I'm Catholic myself. I don't want my kids, be learning Protestant religion at school. So that's what church is for. And I know a lot of faith leaders feel the same way. So all of this to say, kind of a long answer to the question, I felt it was my duty to run, to flip that seat, and to take back education from extremists.
And then, again, why should folks vote for you?
So I think that a lot of people are looking to put educators back in charge of education. And a lot of times people see, these people that are running for different positions that maybe they've had experience adjacent to education. Maybe they have served on a school board, or maybe they have, they've had kids in education, but it's not the same as being in the classroom. It's not the same as having a formal education in education. One example that I would point to is if you're running for a judicial seat, you typically have to have experience as a lawyer, or have that background in law. But the same isn't true for running for an education seat, but maybe it should be. And that's not something that I can change right now, but I can run so that I can give people an option to put an educator in the room where decisions are happening about education.
And then kind of talking about your opponent for this coming runoff, what separates you from her?
What I would say is that I'm currently doing the work already, having not been elected. So these issues are very important to me, and so when you run for office, you're running to be a public servant. You're running to serve the communities that you represent. And right now we are seeing the Beaumont ISD takeover. I have been very vocal in opposition to that. I have attended the Beaumont ISD school board meetings. I've also attended a Fort Bend ISD, because Fort Bend's also part of the district. I attended the Fort Bend ISD school board meeting to speak up against the Bluebonnet curriculum that they were going to adopt, which is a very controversial curriculum. I've gone to Austin twice during the campaign to go to the State Board of Education meeting and give public comment. So all of this to say, I believe that when you're running for an office, you're kind of auditioning or interviewing for that job. And part of it is acting as if you already have the job. And so that's why I am currently trying to do my best to serve the people by going to these board meetings and by speaking up and by being a resource. And I think people see that. I think people have reached out to me and told me, like, thank you for keeping us informed with what's going on with the Beaumont ISD takeover. Thank you for speaking up at the board meeting. So I think people see when somebody is already doing the work before they're elected, that they're going to continue to do the work after they're elected.
And then kind of transitioning more to the idea of Beaumont ISD, since we're kind of in Southeast Texas right now, and this Beaumont ISD is the one that's getting the most coverage right now because of the state takeover.
Yeah.
So we did speak to Julie Pickering before, when she did come to Beaumont to first initially meet with new Superintendent Massey. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how you plan to work with Superintendent Massey if you're elected?
Yeah, so I think that I would hope to believe that we both have the same goal in mind, is that we want to see student success. We want to see the issues with Beaumont. We want to see those resolved. There is a way that is the way that they are going about it right now, which is modeled after the Houston ISD method, is not. On paper, it looks like students are successful, but it's tearing apart communities. And so I hope that I can offer to Massey my, again, boots on the ground classroom experience as a teacher, and offer that perspective and help her to see that maybe some of these methods, there's a better way. There does need to be changes. We do need to change some things. We do need to help support. And I don't think anybody is contesting that there does need to be support from TEA for some of the schools that are struggling. But maybe offering a different way to do it that isn't quite as authoritarian and militarized as what we're seeing. Again, the same model brought from Houston ISD. So I hope I can, I would be open to a conversation with Massey to share these, my lived experience as a teacher.
And then again, the TA happened after years of poor academic performance at some campuses. What do you believe has been the biggest failure of Beaumont ISD over the last several years, and what role should the State Board of Education play in moving that forward?
Yeah, so I think that while there are issues, I think that some of them are. So, for example, one of the schools that triggered the takeover, Fells Price Elementary, it was actually under TEA control from 2022 to 2025. And it was, it was under the third Future Schools Charter model, which is what the takeovers are. So they didn't fix it in that time, right? So, and then they used that school because it was one of only two schools out of 25 that were really failing, and one of those schools was under their control. So I think that there are a lot of root problems that drive things like, okay, so we have things like chronic absenteeism, but what causes chronic absenteeism? Poverty. Students who maybe have to work to provide for their families, mental health struggles. These are things that need to be addressed in order to, we have to solve these root problems before we can, and I think that the current method is kind of trying to instead shove out those students who are experiencing those problems, so they're no longer part of the data. So now the data looks better, but you haven't addressed the problems that, you just kind of push that to the side or put a Band-Aid over it. We have to fix the root problems of things like chronic absenteeism and all the underlying problems in the community. I do think local communities are best fit to address the needs of their communities as opposed to state. I think the state should offer support, but not a full takeover, right? And support can look like, coming in and coaching teachers, but not punishing teachers, right? So a lot of what we're seeing in this model, which is again modeled after Mike Miles and the new education system, is very punitive toward teachers. Teachers don't need punishment; they need support. And I think the State Board of Education can have a role in supporting teachers and boosting teacher morale rather than tearing down teachers. Students are more likely to succeed when teacher morale is high.
And then, of course, the takeover has happened for a couple weeks. It's still kind of new, but under the new direction of Beaumont ISD, do you believe that what they're doing right now is the right one? And especially if you could comment about what's on the board agenda for today.
Yeah. So do you mean like the model that they're using right now? Is it the right way of doing it?
Like the actions that they've currently already taken.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like, do you believe those are the right ways to be taking it right now?
No, I don't think that the first agenda, so we have a board meeting tonight, but the first meeting that was a week or so ago, one of the first things they did was suspend local board policy. There was a number of they're kind of lettered, right? But there was the local board policies that they suspended all were in regards to teacher personnel contracts, making it kind of easier to fire teachers and to eliminate positions. So right after that board meeting, just a few days or the following week after that board meeting, they got rid of the behavioral specialists positions and like interventionist positions that are specifically, we talked about the root causes, right, of things like chronic absenteeism and failing. But then they get rid of the positions that are designed to help address that root problem. So it does seem counterproductive, counterintuitive, and it also seems like you have to ask, then is your goal really to help the kids that you're coming here to serve, that you claim that you're trying to help, when you're getting rid of the positions that are designed to address those root problems? Tonight's board meeting is one of the agenda items on tonight's board meeting is the closure of Paul Brown. Paul Brown is the credit recovery campus. I've talked to many people within Beaumont ISD, just, kind of that I know, people that are in various positions in Beaumont ISD, and said, well, do you know what their plan is for credit recovery? So credit recovery, meaning you failed a class for a multitude of reasons. It could have been bad grades. It could have been you were out for medical. I mean, there's so many reasons why a kid might need credit recovery in order to graduate. So what is the plan for these kids that need the credits and they go to Paul Brown to get credit recovery? Nobody has an answer. There hasn't been any transparency given by the Board of Managers and Superintendent Massey to the people who are putting in the work and who have been putting in the work all year. People don't know about their job security and stability. They don't know if their position is going to be eliminated because, again, the first thing they did after that first meeting was eliminate positions designed to help kids with behavior and mental health. In Houston ISD and Fort Worth ISD, we have precedent from those takeovers that they eliminated ESL and bilingual support services. Well, how is that going to help? Is that the direction we're moving in? So tonight's agenda items, the one that's on my radar the most is the closure of Paul Brown credit recovery, because my question is, what is your plan for those kids who need credit recovery? Are we just discarding them so that our numbers will look better? Because the numbers looking better on paper doesn't mean that you've helped actually solve problems within a community.
And then I guess to just my follow-up question to that, because of course there's still time for you to get elected and replaced on this State Board of Education. What would you do to help fix that situation, that in the direction that Beaumont ISD is currently going?
To the decisions that they've made currently? Yeah, so a lot of this, what the State Board of Education isn't going to have the power, I guess, to necessarily reverse what TEA has done. Because the State Board of Education is mostly about writing the standards and approving curriculum. However, the State Board of Education is it's a platform, it's a megaphone to advocate. And I would definitely advocate for having those support systems in place. And like I said, improving teacher morale, putting those positions back in place and making sure that they're secure. And working just very closely. I would want to be a presence at Beaumont ISD, that they can see and know that I'm an ally, and especially the teachers. I'm very pro-teacher, and I want the teachers to know that I'm an ally. I don't want to appear like I'm somebody in a suit from Austin, coming down that's out of touch. And I think that that's what a lot of teachers do feel like, is that the current representative on the State Board of Education is kind of out of touch with what they face in the classroom every day. So I would want them to know that I'm present and that I am on their side.
And then just my last question to clarify, for your campaign, what exactly are you running on?
I'm running on making sure that the curriculum that is pushed forth in the state of Texas is rooted in honest history. Because like I said, one of the things that really got me paying attention was the changes to the social studies curriculum, that we maintain local control and teacher autonomy. What they're going to be voting on in June is a state mandated reading list that would eliminate the ability of teachers to select books that are the best fit for their students. And we're seeing that in the TEA and in the State Board of Education, and with the Bluebonnet curriculum. All of the theme of all of that is this push toward centralized education model. But Texas is a very big state with very diverse needs. And so one of the things I am running on is maintaining local control of communities and teachers to have the autonomy to do what is best for their students. And so that we teach the standards at the TEA. The TEKS are supposed to be broad standards, but the teachers, they're the experts. they're the ones that know their students and know how to present that. So local control, teacher autonomy, and a curriculum that reflects all Texans. Diverse literature, honest history, truthful about the bad and the good of our nation's past.
Is there anything else that maybe I haven't asked that you would like to talk about?
I would say also keeping public money in public schools. I know that's big on people's minds because of the voucher program, and while that is a Texas legislature issue, again, the State Board of Education is a voice and a platform. What we tend to see with these takeovers are schools closing because people will leave the district in exodus, right? So then we already are having a loss of students. There was recently the State of Public Education hearing at the Texas House before the board of the Public Education Committee. And one number that was very alarming is that 76,000, so we've lost 76,000 students, public school students in the 2025-2026 school year. Those students are going to either private schools, charter schools, homeschooling is picking up. Now, why are they doing this? I don't blame the parents. They're doing their best as a parent, I know, you do what's best for your child. And if your child isn't thriving in a public school, or if the public school has been taken over by the state and it's not a good learning environment anymore, you're going to do what's best for your child. However, my question is, why is our public schools not serving every child? And I think a big part of that is underfunding, that we have schools operating at a budget deficit, that we aren't prioritizing funding our public schools. And I think that we're going in the opposite direction with this voucher program, where we're taking money from public schools and giving it to people who really are already in private school, so now they just have a coupon at the taxpayer's expense. So that's another thing that is really important to me, is making sure that we properly fund our public schools. When Ann Richards was governor in the 1990s, that was when I started kindergarten. I started kindergarten in 1994, and we were number 7 in education. Texas was number 7. After 30 years of Republican leadership, we are now in, I think, 41. So that's a big difference to go from 7 to 41 in 30 years. And I hope to change that.
And so your first question is going to be, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you fit for this role.
I am a former Port Arthur ISD board trustee. I served 3 elected terms. During that time, I served as president, vice president, and secretary. I am also a graduate of Leadership TASB, that is the Texas Association of School Boards, class of 2019, having graduated with the distinction of Master Trustee. I am also a current member of the Council of Urban Board of Education. The acronym for that is CUBE. I am the former Vice Chair Commissioner of the Port Arthur Housing Authority. I am also the retired transit planner for the city of Port Arthur and the Federal Transit Administration. I have served the Port Arthur Independent School District and students alike for over 4 years. I'm a mother and a grandmother.
And so can you kind of tell us a little bit about why you are running now?
I have a desire to continue to serve. It has been long my desire, once my time on the Port Arthur ISD Board of Trustees has ended, to run for the State Board of Education. I am currently willing to serve in the capacity that's required to serve the students around this district, around the state. There is a fundamental need at this time to step in and do what is needed and necessary to ensure our children get the best possible education.
Okay. And then why should folks vote for you?
Why should they vote for me? Because of my qualifications that I do bring to the table. I do realize that as a member of the State Board of Education, we are responsible for setting policies and standards, which I do have a long and extensive background in doing so, having again served as a board member for Port Arthur ISD, also setting curriculum and establishing graduation requirements. And again, my experience on the board included budgets, setting budgets for different departments and the district as well, which as a board member on the state Board of Education, one of the requirements is to manage the public school fund with great emphasis on public school fund. I say that because of the fact we know that there is a major issue right now on the table with school vouchers, which I am adamantly opposed to. I believe public school money should stay within the public school. I am not against anyone that wants to send their child to private school, but just understand that is your personal choice, and that should be your responsibility to provide that type of education.
Okay. And then what separates you from your opponent?
Well, the only thing at this point that would separate us, she is an educator, having directly been in the classroom. I have been on the other side of the spectrum. I have served on the board in that capacity. So at this point, the separation is I was a standing board member for 3 elected terms, and she's been an educator for however long she served.
So I guess like follow-up question to that is what exactly makes you a better fit with the background in being a board member instead of being in the classroom?
I know just what it takes. I know what is required within the legal limits to be a board member, what we're required to do, and to an extent what we're not required to do. I have that direct knowledge, having been a board member.
Okay. And now we're just going to move to some questions about Beaumont ISD. And so talking about specifically Beaumont ISD because it's currently one of the schools in your district that has been taken over, and we are in Southeast Texas. What do you plan? How do you plan to work with new Superintendent Massey if you are elected?
If elected, my primary responsibility lies with the students, obviously first, and then the community, the stakeholders. I will advocate for community-driven turnaround solutions. Bring the community in, allow them their voice in saying whatever they feel is needful and necessary to turn this thing around. Lobby for a swift return to local control. It's very important that the stakeholders, the local stakeholders, the community, the parents, grandparents, guardians have a say in how their district is handled. So I will lobby for a swift return to local control. Most importantly, I'm going to demand transparency and accountability from the state. It is very important. It is vitally important that the state of Texas is transparent in everything that's done, what we do, so that the stakeholders, the community, can be pleased with the outcome of however we decide to move forward.
Mm-hmm. And if elected, how involved would you personally be with Beaumont ISD during this transition?
I will be involved as 100% as I possibly can. Whatever is needed of me, I am going to be available to do whatever I can to turn this thing around. Again, as I said, to return the local control to the people.
Okay. Now, the takeover happened after years of poor academic performance at some campuses. What do you believe has been the biggest failure in Beaumont ISD over the last several years, and what role will the State Board of Education play moving forward?
I am not going to point any fingers at any one person at this point, because education is a community effort. I feel that it's important that we be able to communicate with one another. We need to be able to talk to each other rather than talk at each other. So I am not going to point a finger at any one person claiming that they're responsible or this person's responsible. This is a joint effort, and it's going to be a joint effort for us to turn this situation around.
So I guess what would the state, if elected, what would you as part of the State Board of Education do to kind of help move Beaumont ISD forward?
Again, I'm going to be the voice that is needed. I'm going to advocate for the community turnaround solutions. Again, I am the voice of the community. That's what the people will be electing me for, to speak on their behalf. And I will strongly advocate for the people of this area and other districts that I would be representing.
Okay. And on my last few questions, just talking specifically about what's on the board agenda for today, and just how the new board of managers has been tackling this new responsibility for Beaumont ISD. Do you think they are taking it in the right direction? Why or why not?
At this point, I cannot intelligently speak to which direction that they're going to. They've only been on the job for a few days or so. So I would say I would, use a wait and see approach to determine how effective that they're going to be. I will not speak on what's happening at this point. We're just going to have to wait and see and trust that they're going to do what's best for the district.
Okay. And so kind of talking more on your campaign itself, what are you running your campaign on?
My campaign is being run on ensuring that there's equitable funding for all of the districts. We represent 11 different counties within this District 7, and I feel that it's vitally important that funding is equal, spread out through all of those counties, all of those districts. Increasing teacher pay and support. I think it's important that teachers are paid based on the market, the current market, and then support them, give them exactly the tools that they need to manage their classroom, to just be a part of the overall process. And again, I said earlier that in regards to doing what we can do to help the Beaumont ISD, I'm also interested in expanding the community-centered school. And again, I say that because I feel like it is important that the community, the stakeholders, the parents, grandparents, guardians have an equal say as to what's going on in the school district. And I am, I'm an advocate for protecting public education from privatization. I feel like it is important that public school remains public schools. I can't help but emphasize the fact that I am anti-vouchers. Again, I want to make it perfectly clear. I have absolutely nothing against someone who wants their child educated in the private sector, but that is your choice and that is your responsibility to do so. I am committed to fostering a system that values diversity, one that will promote critical thinking, and a system that will prepare all of our students for the success in our very diverse society.
Okay, and these are just kind of clarifying questions. I know the State Board of Education doesn't have much of the power about what decisions the state is currently taking for specifically Beaumont ISD. Y'all are more focused on setting that curriculum and stuff like that. Do you have any plans as to what you would be looking at if elected on the State Board of Education in terms of curriculum or anything of that sort?
I know that at this time there's several conversations being had on the, I believe it's the Bluebonnet curriculum. I don't necessarily have an accurate account of any other curriculums that is considered at this point, but at this time, if elected, my goal is to go in and to talk to the people that are currently there to come up with solutions that will benefit all of our children, all of them.